In Phantom Nightmare, you were introduced to Vados, the Eruption Dragon of Extinction, destroyer of the city Obsidian and its people. In Legacy of Destruction, you'll learn of the terrifying powers that were unleashed in the battle with Vados, and how to wield them in your own Ashened deck. When facing off against an ordinary foe, they're at their strongest at the beginning of the battle, and their strength wanes over time as injuries mount and fatigue takes hold. Vados, however, is an extraordinary foe, whose strength only increases over time. By unbinding the souls of the Ashen from the cycle of life and death, and fusing them unto itself, Vados' destructive capabilities are multiplied. Vados, the Dragon of Endless Darkness, exists to snuff out the light of hope in your opponent's eyes. It cannot be destroyed by card effects, and your opponent cannot target it with monster effects. Upon its arrival, its flames can wipe the field clean of your opponent's spell and trap cards. It can consume the soul of one of your other Ashen cards on the field, sending that card to the graveyard to destroy any opposing card that activates or activates its effect on the field. And best of all, or worse, depending on your perspective, you can fusion summon it using all of your opponent's monsters. Ashen to Endlessness is a new continuous trap you can set from your deck with the original Vados. Its on-field effect lets you fusion summon a Pyro monster using monsters on either field, including the original Vados. If you do, the monster you summon gains 500 attack for each material used. Vados, the Dragon of Endless Darkness, specifically requires the original Vados, along with 2 or more other level 9 or lower Pyro monsters. That can be the Ashen monsters on your field, as well as Vados from your opponent's field, which then lets you use the original Vados' effect to destroy all monsters on the field, and the new Vados' effect to destroy all of your opponent's spells and traps. The new Vados would be immune to the destruction effect of the original, leaving your opponent's field clear for a huge direct attack. Now, if you've given your opponent a copy of Obsidian the Ashen City, then when the new Vados destroys it, you'll get to special summon another Ashen monster from your deck, and further increase the amount of damage you'll be able to inflict that turn. But Obsidian has another use. If it's on your field, remember that it turns your opponent's special summon monsters into Pyro monsters during your turn. So instead of fusing away your own monsters, you can fuse away your opponent's instead, decline to activate the original Vados' monster destruction effect, and just leave all your monsters on the field to finish the duel in a flash. Ashen to Endlessness also has a type changing effect while it's in the graveyard. It lets you turn your opponent's monsters into Pyros during their turn for an even more devastating fusion summon. Shaman of the Ashen City can shuffle 3 of your burnt out Pyro monsters into your deck and add Obsidian from your deck to your hand if any of them were Ashen monsters. At the same time, if your opponent controls a Pyro monster with 2800 or more attack, Spearhead of the Ashen City can be attributed to return one of their cards to the hand, useful for putting Vados back into your hand to use again. Together, they can be combined to Xyz summon a rank 4 monster, like Infernal Flame Banshee. Even when it's defeated, Vados can get a new lease on life via extinguishing the Ashen. By sending any Dark Pyro monster from your deck to the graveyard with this spell, you can add a high-level Pyro monster like Vados back to your hand. Then, you can use its fusion summoning effect in the graveyard to immediately bring out Vados, the Dragon of Endless Darkness. Alternatively, you can fight back against enemy monster effects by rekindling the Ashen. This quick play spell puts one of your burnt-out Ashen cards back on the bottom of your deck to negate the effects of one of your opponent's monsters until the end of the turn. Finally, your Ashen monsters can also employ the power of fusion. Any 2 Pyro monsters can be fused into the Embers of the Ashen, which can restore any field spell in your graveyard to your hand, as well as automatically destroy any Pyro monster it battles. If you do destroy a monster with this effect, and it's your turn, Embers of the Ashen can make a second attack in a row. Oh, and one more thing before I go. Now is a pretty good time to have a strategy that fuses Pyro monsters together. But if you're planning on fusing your opponent's whole board into Vados, the Dragon of Endless Darkness, try to make sure you're doing it on your turn, so that your 2 Vados effects are Chainlink 1 and 2, and any recursive effects of your opponent's monsters, Snake Eyes Flamberge Dragon for instance, are at Chainlink 3 or higher. you want all of your opponent's effects to resolve first, so that your Vados effects take everything out. As an added bonus, any on-summon trigger effects of monsters your opponent summons at Chain Link 3 or higher won't be able to activate if they're destroyed at Chain Link 2 or 1, since the monster that met its trigger condition no longer exists.